In these times of political tension and spiritual confusion, many hearts are unsettled. There comes a time in every believer's life when the natural just isn't enough. Bills stack high. Debts feel deeper than your pockets. There's a moment in every life when the weight becomes too much, the answers too few. There's a moment in every life when the weight becomes too much, the answers too few, and the strength too small. We live in a world that teaches us to take control, make it happen, and fix it yourself. But what do you do when your control runs out and nothing gets fixed? That's where faith begins. There's a peace, a power, and a promise that only comes when you put everything, not some things, not only the big things, but everything in God's hand. This isn't a call to give up. It's a call to give over, because the moment you release your grip is the moment God takes hold. Now let's break this down. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold things together. We grip the wheel of life with white knuckles, thinking if we just try a little harder, plan a little better, hustle a little faster, we can keep it all from falling apart. We think our hands are enough, our strength, our control, our ability to fix and manage. But life has a way of proving otherwise. Life throws things at you that no amount of preparation or power can handle. The phone rings with news you didn't expect. The relationship falls apart. The diagnosis comes back. The money runs out. And suddenly you realize that your hands, no matter how capable they once seemed, can't carry what's in front of you. You were never designed to carry all of that weight alone. See, your hands are human. They get tired, they tremble. They drop things, they bleed. They reach for help in silence when no one's looking. And yet we still try to hold on to everything like it all depends on us. We tell ourselves, I've got this, even while we're breaking under the weight of what we were never created to carry. But when you step back and remember who God is, when you remember the strength in His hands, the steadiness in His grip, the authority in His touch, it changes everything. These are the same hands that flung stars into space, that split the sea so His people could walk through it, that reached down to lift Peter when he was sinking in fear, that opened blind eyes, that fed thousands with fragments, that calmed storms with a single gesture. These are hands that hold the universe in order, that write history before it happens, that never fumble, never weaken, never fail. And it makes you wonder why we're still trusting our own limited hands with situations that demand a supernatural touch. We keep pushing and pulling and stressing and striving when what we need is not more effort. It's divine help. It's a transfer of weight from our fragile hands to the unshakable hands of a faithful God. Because when we understand how mighty His hands are, how full of power and compassion they are, how capable they are of holding what breaks us, we are limited beings living in a limitless God's world. And yet we live like everything begins and ends with us. Our sight is short. Our strength is temporary. Our plans are imperfect. We look at our calendars, our bank accounts, and our options, and we assume that what we see is all there is. We walk through life calculating based on what we can measure, what we can control, what we can hold in our hands. But God does not live inside the box we build for Him. He is not confined to our logic, our limitations, or our timeline. Where we see a wall, He sees a door. Where we see a dead end, He sees a new beginning. Where we say, it's too late, He says, I'm just getting started. He sees the whole picture when we can barely make sense of a corner. Our minds are finite, bound by time and weariness, while His is infinite, untouched by decay or confusion. He operates outside the limits of time, not constrained by seconds, minutes, or years. We get anxious when things don't happen on our schedule because we believe the clock is our master. But He's the one who created time and holds it in His hand. He's not bound by the laws of nature. He wrote them. We are often trapped by what we can't see coming, but He sees the end from the beginning. He sees how your broken moment fits into your breakthrough story. He knows how the pain will be redeemed, how the delay will bring depth, how the waiting will shape your worship. We serve a God whose knowledge is not partial, whose power is not borrowed, and whose plan is never second-guessed. He doesn't guess. He doesn't hope things turn out. He declares and it becomes. He speaks and it is. You and I will always hit a wall when we try to do it all ourselves, when we lean on our own understanding, when we try to calculate outcomes using earthly logic. But God doesn't need to calculate. He already knows. He doesn't need a backup plan. He is the plan. While we see 5 loaves and 2 fish and call it not enough, He sees a feast waiting to happen. While we see a barren place, He sees a garden about to bloom. And while we see ourselves as broken, scattered, too far gone, too worn out, He sees a vessel worth using, a story worth telling, a purpose worth fulfilling. He is the God of no boundaries, no shortages, no fear, and no failure. There comes a point in every person's life when they must choose between trusting God or clinging to control. Control is seductive. It makes us feel safe, in charge, important.
When the natural
it
just
feeds
isn't
the
enough.
illusion that if we just
Bills
plan
stack
well
high.
enough, if we
Debts
just
feel deeper
prepare
than
long
your
enough, if we
pockets.
just push hard enough, we can make everything happen exactly how we want it. Control says, you've got to do it all. Control whispers, if you don't make it happen, it won't happen. But the truth is, the more you try to control, the more anxious you become. Because deep
There's a
down we
moment
know
in every life
we are
when
not
the
in
weight
control.
becomes
We
too
never have
much.
been.
The answer's
Control is
too
an
few.
illusion dressed up as security. It doesn't protect you. It burdens you. And as long as you're trying to manage every outcome, manipulate every detail, and force every door to open, you are not trusting God. You're trusting you. Trust doesn't thrive where control reigns. They can't coexist. Trust means stepping back even when it doesn't make sense. It means saying, God, I don't know how this ends, but I'm giving it to you anyway. It's releasing your grip on what you were never built to handle alone. Some of us have been walking around exhausted, not because God isn't helping, but because we haven't let go. We say we trust Him, but our actions prove otherwise. We stress over every deadline, overthink every decision, panic when things don't go as planned, and then wonder why peace keeps slipping through our fingers. Peace is not found in perfection. It's not found in the illusion of control. Peace is born in surrender. And trust, there's a moment in every life when the weight becomes too much. I'm not in charge anymore. The answer's too few and the strength too small. We live in a world that teaches us to take control. That's where control ends and faith begins. And fix it yourself. Faith doesn't mean you understand everything. What do you do when your control runs out and nothing gets fixed? It doesn't mean you like the waiting or the silence or the detour. And a promise that only comes when you put everything. It means you come to the place where you realize that God's ways are higher, but everything in God's wiser. And that His timing is perfect even when it doesn't feel like it. Because the moment you release your grip, you don't need to drive the whole thing. Now let's break this down. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold things together. I'd rather be in the passenger seat of your will than behind the wheel of my own plan. Thinking if we just try a little harder, move into that kind of trust until you let go of your grip, we can keep it all from falling apart. Still trying to manipulate. We think our hands are enough. Still trying to figure out our strength, our control, our ability to fix and manage. Letting, but life has a way of naturally to most of us. Life throws things at you that no amount of preparation or power can handle. That control is security. News you didn't expect. That figuring it out on our own is some kind of badge of honor. The diagnosis comes back. The money runs out. And suddenly you realize that your hands, it's not lazy, it's not weak. They once seemed, it is one of the most courageous acts a believer can make. You were never designed to carry all of that weight alone. You're not just dropping something. See, your hands are human. You're placing it into someone else's hands. They get tired, they tremble. And that takes trust. They drop things, they bleed. That takes belief. They reach for help in silence. That takes surrender on a level that shakes your pride and silences your ego. And yet we still try to hold on to everything like it all depends on us. Faith isn't proved in what you say on Sunday. We tell ourselves, it's proved in what you release on Monday. Even while we're breaking under the weight of what we were never created to carry. But you choose to pray instead. When you step back and remember who God is. When you feel the urge to control someone's response. When you remember the strength in His hands. When you choose to respond with steadiness in His grip. When you're tempted to force a door open. It changes everything. Back and say, these are the same hands that flung stars into space. I'll walk through it. That split the sea so as people can walk through it. But I'm not going to break it down to prove I belong there. That reached down to lift Peter when he was sinking in fear. It's placing what's precious into hands that are more capable than yours. It's realizing that your identity is not in what you manage. These are hands that hold the universe in order. That right Some of us are so used to being the one who holds it together that we don't know what it means to lay it down. And it makes you wonder why we're still trusting our own limited hands with situations that demand a supernatural touch. The more we strain, we keep pushing and pulling and stressing and striving because we weren't built to carry it all. And deep inside, we know that. It's a transfer of weight from our fragile hands to the unshakable hands of a faithful God. In our clenched fists when we understand how mighty His hands are, letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you finally found the wisdom to stop trying to play God in situations only God can living in a limitless God's world. There's a kind of rest you can never reach until you begins and ends with us. There's a level of clarity that only shows up after surrender. There's a peace that only becomes available. We look at our calendars, our bank accounts, and our options. I'm just the servant. And we assume that what we see is all there is. Means that you don't need to understand how it will work out. Calculating based on what we can measure, who is working, what we can control, what we can hold in our hands. You don't need to see the final picture to take your hands off the box we built. You don't have to be the one holding it all together. To our logic, our limitations, or our timeline. Where we see a wall, He sees a door. Is one of the clearest signs that we've taken something into our hands that was never meant to rest there. He says, "I'm just getting started." Start small, the whole picture and then spreads like wildfire through the mind and soul. Our minds are finite. And before you know it, you're lying awake at night rehearsing what ifs, untouched by reworking conversations, rewriting outcomes that haven't even happened yet. Not constrained by becomes the soundtrack of a heart trying to play God. We get anxious when things don't happen on our schedule because we believe the clock is our master. Manage every twist and turn of a future that belongs to God alone. He's not bound by the laws of nature. Worry is not just a feeling. He wrote them. It's a signal, a flashing light that says you're holding too much. But He sees the end. It's evidence that somewhere along the line you stopped trusting and started breakthrough story. We worry about money, about people, about timing, about our health, our children, our dreams, our future. We serve a God whose knowledge is not partial, whose power is not borrowed. We miss the present moment God is trying to meet us in. Worry convinces us that the weight of the world is on our shoulders. He declares that we are the sole protector of everything and everyone we care about. You and I will always hit a wall when we never meant to carry that kind of pressure. When we lean on our own understanding, will crush your joy, your focus, when we try to calculate outcomes using earthly logic. But God doesn't need to calculate. He already knows. Pray, but don't He doesn't need a backup plan. You say God's got it. But live like it's all still up to you. 2 fish and the truth is, worry is not the problem. He sees a feast waiting to happen. The root is self-dependence. While we see a barren place, the root is the belief often unspoken.
And while
God
we see
might not
ourselves
handle
as
it the
broken,
way you
scattered,
would,
too far gone, too
as
worn
fast
out,
as
he
you'd
sees a
like.
vessel worth
So
using.
we start to pick
a
things up
story worth
again.
telling,
Even after we lay them at the altar,
He is the
we
God of
give
no
God
boundaries,
control,
no short
but then
sense,
take
no
it back
fear,
the moment
and
he
no
doesn't
failure.
move on
There
our
comes a point in
timetable.
every person's life
We
when
trust
they
him
must
in
choose
theory,
between
but struggle
trusting
to
God
trust
or
him in
clinging to
detail.
control.
And that's where
Control
worry
is
grows
seductive.
in the soil of
It makes us feel
half-trust.
safe.
There is freedom in recognizing that we are not meant to live like that.
well enough.
There is
If we
liberty
just
in
prepare
admitting
long
that we're
enough,
carrying
just
too
push
much.
hard enough,
Worry
we can make
thrives in the
everything happen
shadows,
exactly how
but it
we
loses
want it.
power in the light
Control
of surrender.
says,
And when
you've
you
got to
begin
do
to
it all.
identify worry as a
Control
warning,
whispers.
not a weakness,
If you don't make it happen,
you'll start to
it won't
realize
happen.
that your soul is
But the
crying out
truth
for a
is, the
deeper
more you
release,
try to control,
a
the
more
more
honest
anxious you
handing
become.
over, a more
Because
complete
deep down we
dependence
know
on the
every
one
life
who has
not
never
in
dropped
control,
anything
never
placed
been.
in his
The
hands.
answer's
Control is
too
an
few.
illusion.
There's
There's
something
something
powerful
powerful
that
that happens when you
It doesn't
shift your
protect
perspective
you.
from
It
earthly
burdens
effort
you.
to divine
And as long
alignment.
as you're trying to manage
Most
every
of us have
outcome,
spent years grinding,
manipulate every detail,
hustling,
and force
and
every door
pushing,
to open,
trying to
not
make
trusting
things happen
God.
by the
You're
force of our
trusting
will.
you.
The strength
Trust
of our
doesn't
minds,
thrive
the
where control
intensity of our
reigns.
ambition.
They can't coexist.
And while there's nothing wrong
Trust
with
means
diligence
stepping back
and discipline,
even when it doesn't make
there's
sense.
a fine line between
It means
working
saying,
with God and trying
God,
to work
I don't
as
know
God.
how this ends,
When you live your
but I'm
life
giving it
trying
to
to
you
force
anyway.
things into place, you're
It's releasing
constantly
your grip on
frustrated.
what you were never built to
You
handle
find yourself
alone.
exhausted
Some of us
from
have been
chasing
walking around
outcomes
exhausted,
instead of following
not because God
obedience.
isn't helping.
You run
but
ahead
because
of
we
God,
haven't
you
let
make
go.
decisions out of
We
fear.
say we trust
And
Him,
you carry
but our
burdens that
actions
come from
prove
stepping
otherwise.
outside the covering
We
of
stress
trust.
over every deadline,
The world
overthink
tells
every
you to go
decision,
get it, to
panic
make it
when
happen,
things don't go as planned,
to chase the dream no
and then
matter
wonder
what.
why peace keeps
But
slipping
heaven's
through our
rhythm is
fingers.
different.
Peace
Heaven
is not
doesn't
found in
operate on
perfection.
hustle, it operates
It's not
on
found in
harmony.
the illusion of control.
When you're aligned
Peace
with
is
God,
born
you
in
don't have to
surrender.
manipulate
And
to
trust.
move
There's a
forward.
moment in every
You don't
life
have to
when the
kick
weight
the doors
becomes
open
too
that were
much.
never
I'm
meant
not
to
in charge
open.
anymore.
You don't have to
Let's
beg
align
for
to the
things that
sand.
have already
We
been
live in a
ordained.
world that teaches us to take
Alignment means you
control,
walk in
make
step
it
in His
happen.
will, His
And
word,
faith doesn't mean
and
you
His ways,
understand
even when it's
everything.
not
Your fist
flashy,
runs out,
even
nothing
when it's
but
slow,
fist.
even when it
That's
doesn't
what
make
faith
sense
you
to
like
everyone
the waiting,
around
there's
you.
a peace and
It's a
power,
posture
or
of
the deep
peace.
promise that only
It's a
comes when
surrender
you
of
maybe
faith.
come to the place
It's
where you
knowing that
realize
if
that
God
God's
said
ways are higher,
He'll do it.
but
But
everything
you don't
else
have
is
to
wiser.
twist yourself
And
into
that
not
isn't
trying
called
to bring it to
perfect,
pass.
even when it doesn't feel
Sometimes
like
we
it.
confuse
Because
the
when you
movement
really
with
release
progress.
that, then you don't need to drive the whole thing. Now let's need to follow.
Down, but they're not
We
the
spend
same.
so much of our
God,
lives
you
trying
can
to
be busy
rather
and still
be
be
in the
outside of
passenger
God's
seat of your
will.
grill than
You can be
behind life
productive
with
and
my
still
own
be
plan.
disconnected from
Thinking
your
if we just
purpose.
try a
You can't
little
move
harder,
into the
that
enemy
kind of
loves to
little
keep people
better,
distracted by
faster,
motion,
we can keep
chasing
it on what you're
noise,
falling apart.
missing the whisper of God
We think
because
our
they're
hands are
trying to
enough.
figure out
Volume
our strength, still trying to force the
ability,
figure
our
of soul is
understanding
aligning.
But life
Your
has
plans are laid at the feet of the one who authored
life
your
throws
purpose,
things at you
conditioned
that
to
no
believe in
amount of
liberation,
holding on is
divine
power can
clarity.
handle.
You
That
don't
control
rush what
brings
God
you
is
news you
doing.
didn't expect. Figuring it out
You
on
don't
our own
despise
is some kind of
small
badge of
parts.
honor. The
You don't
diagnosis
panic in
comes
the
back
waiting room
clean.
of life.
The money runs
Because
out.
you know
There's
you're
a
not
moment
just
in
starting,
you
it's not
realize that
past,
your
it's
hands
being
come. It's
led.
not lazy. It's not
And
because
that
you want to see it.
leading,
It is
there's
one of the
grace
most
that covers
courageous
your
acts a
steps.
believer
You
can
were
make.
never
A
designed to
wisdom
carry
that
all
guides
your
you.
choices
You're not just
alone.
dropping
A peace
something.
that
Your hands
anchors your
are
heart
huge.
when
Placing it into
everything
something
around you is
tired, they
uncertain.
tremble. And that
Living
takes
in
trust.
alignment means you don't just ask God to bless your plans.
Surrender on a
You
level that
ask Him
shakes
for
your
His
pride
plan
and
and
trust
trust
that
that
His
His version of your future is better than anything
what you say on
you could have
Sunday
scripted on your own God's
hand.
hand.
What you release on
Don't
Monday,
just
even
hold
while
the
we're
world.
breaking
It's in
under
that
the weight
moment
of
they
what
hold
we
your
feel
story,
motivated
fix
to
every
carry.
detail,
But you choose to pray
every
every step
season,
back and remember
every
who
up and
God
down.
urge to control
He's not
someone.
just the
You're
God
not
of the
the strength in
cosmos,
His
He's the
hands
God
to
of your
respond with
chaos. He's the
steadiness
God
in
of
His
your
grip.
waiting
When you're
season,
tempted to
your
throw
wilderness
the
season,
open,
your
He
silent
changes
season.
back and
He's
say,
not
He's
distant
got
with
the
the
same hands that
situation.
flung stars
He's
into the
deeply
water.
involved in it,
That's
even
what
when it
I'm not
doesn't
going
look
to
like
break it
it.
down to prove I
We
belong
often look
there.
at our
That reach
lives
down
and
to
only
lift
see the
letting go
broken
is not
seats,
giving up.
the
It's that
failed
open
plans,
blind
the
eye
missed
in the
chances,
hands
the
that
closed
closes
doors,
with
the
fragments,
heartbreaks,
that
the
calms
detours
realizing
we
that your
didn't ask
identity
for.
is not in what
And
you
we
made.
assume that because it looks shattered, it must be over.
Some
Some of us are so used to being that God is the master of the unseen. He doesn't just work in the spotlight. He works in the shadow. He moves behind the curtain, orchestrating things we don't even have the wisdom to pray for. While we're pacing in frustration because we weren't prepared for things in perfection.
And deep
inside
inside
your life is wasted when it's placed in God's hands, not the unshakable hands, not the delay, not even the parts you messed up. See, when you surrender your life into His hands, you're not giving up. You're handing it over to the one who knows how to make miracles out of messes. The same hands that formed Adam from dust are still shaping lives today. The same hands that wrote commandments on stone tablets are still writing purpose on human hearts. And the same hands that carried a rugged cross up a hill are the hands reaching for you when you don't know how to take another step. That's the kind of God you're trusting when you put everything in His hands. He doesn't wait until the circumstances are perfect. In fact, He often shows up strongest when the situation is the most hopeless. He's taken something into our hands. That's when you stop trying to write your own ending and let Him be the author and finisher of your faith. And then spreads like you don't need all the answers when you're in the hands of the one who does. You're lying awake at night listening to the one who holds tomorrow's conversations. Rewriting out the fear what's ahead of your past. Present, the soundtrack of our all wrapped in the grip of a faithful God. His hands are never too